The saga of Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni has captured the public's attention in a way few celebrity dramas ever do. Their feud, which began innocuously enough on set of It Ends With Us, has grown into a full-blown media spectacle. There have been accusations, counterclaims, and a few too many awkward moments to count. And the drama doesn't show any sign of slowing down. While their relationship seems to have started professionally, with their shared ambition and project, it's clear that the personal dynamics between these two have escalated in a way no one expected. But amid all the chaos, there have been some truly outrageous moments that, when pieced together, form a picture of two people who seem to be on a mission to outdo each other, one jaw-dropping incident at a time. As we dive deeper into this saga, we're not just exploring a heated argument between co-stars or an offhand comment caught on camera. We're looking at a series of increasingly ridiculous and often laughable moments, the kind of antics that seem designed to make us question if anyone involved in this situation is taking themselves seriously at all. From ridiculous fashion choices that make zero sense in context to awkward interviews and cryptic messages, there's no shortage of bizarre moments that have us scratching our heads and chuckling in disbelief. Let's start with a moment that set the tone for the drama to come. Blake Lively's wardrobe choice at the premiere of It Ends With Us. It wasn't just any dress, though. Blake chose to wear the infamous red dress that Britney Spears wore back in 2002 during her peak fame years. For those who aren't familiar with the history, Britney's red dress from that era is iconic. It's a bold, risque, and unforgettable piece that became almost synonymous with her persona during the early 2000s. So when Blake showed up at the premiere of the film, draped in the same outfit, it didn't just scream fashion. It was practically shouting, "This is intentional." And here's where it gets even more bizarre. While the rest of the world was left to puzzle over her choice, Blake casually posted a shout-out to Britney in the credits of It Ends With Us, thanking her for inspiring her choice of dress. But was this an innocent homage, or was there something deeper behind the move? Fans were quick to point out the timing of this nod to Britney. Justin Baldoni, who starred opposite Blake in the film, had been a huge fan of Britney during his younger years. Was Blake trying to remind him of his pop culture roots? Was she subtly trying to make a statement about their past? The timing couldn't have been more perfect, and the gesture felt almost like a calculated move designed to ruffle some feathers, specifically Justin's. But the truly absurd part of this story came after the premiere, when Blake insisted on keeping her appearance hidden from Justin. She took it a step further by refusing to let him see her outfit beforehand, essentially forcing him to retreat to a basement before the red carpet event. Was this all just part of Blake's quirky sense of fashion? Or was she playing some sort of mind game with Justin? Considering how much tension there already was between them, this stunt only added fuel to the fire. It was one of those moments that left fans and critics alike wondering whether this was an intentional jab or simply a fashion-forward misstep. This dress controversy not only made headlines for its boldness, but also hinted at the type of rivalry that was brewing behind the scenes. Blake's decision to wear such an iconic and emotionally charged piece of clothing may have seemed trivial at first, but in the context of her ongoing dynamic with Justin, it felt loaded with deeper implications. Before we even got a glimpse of the Blake Lively-Justin Baldoni drama that would unfold on screen, Blake was already making waves with her interviews. There was something about her demeanor in public that gave off the impression she was always trying to control the narrative. In fact, it didn't take long for fans to notice that Blake wasn't content with just being an actress. She wanted much more than that. In interviews leading up to her role in It Ends With Us, Blake expressed a desire for creative control, saying that she needed to feel empowered in the decision-making process on her projects. To some, that was a refreshing sign of confidence, a declaration of artistic autonomy. But to others, it seemed like Blake was preparing for something bigger, controlling the direction of her career, possibly even at the expense of her co-stars. That idea only intensified as Blake's interviews became more frequent and more candid. She began talking openly about how she had always been a tough negotiator, claiming that, at times, she could be a difficult person in meetings. That's a bold admission, to say the least, especially in Hollywood, where maintaining a polished image is often more important than anything else. But Blake didn't seem interested in playing it safe. In fact, she embraced this difficult persona and seemed to wear it like a badge of honor. Was she consciously setting herself up for a role as a behind-the-scenes power player, where she would have control over not only her career, but the projects she worked on? Perhaps the most ridiculous part of these interviews was how Blake seemed to be inadvertently exposing her own vulnerability. She gave away more information than she likely realized, especially when she discussed her work ethic and willingness to push boundaries. Looking back, it's clear that she was unintentionally providing Justin, and the public, with ammunition for their eventual showdown. For all of Blake's talk about creative control, she wasn't always the easiest person to work with. In fact, it became apparent that her strong-willed nature might have been one of the reasons she and Justin didn't exactly see eye to eye on set. From an outsider's perspective, it's easy to look at Blake's interviews and laugh. But for those who knew her on set, these public admissions likely reinforced her reputation as someone who could be just as difficult to work with as she was talented. In the end, her words became part of the narrative, fueling the speculation surrounding her relationship with Justin and setting the stage for the larger feud that would eventually unfold. At this point, we've already established that the drama between Blake and Justin wasn't just confined to their interactions on set, it spilled over into their personal lives as well. And that's where Ryan Reynolds comes in. As we all know, Blake is married to Ryan, and it seems he had no intention of staying out of the drama. In fact, Ryan took what seemed like a playful jab at Justin with a tongue-in-cheek Easter egg in Deadpool 2. In one scene of the film, Ryan's character, Deadpool, interacts with a character named Nice Pool. At first glance, this seems like just another quirky element in a movie full of offbeat humor. However, some fans quickly pieced together the connection. Nice Pool was a direct dig at Justin Baldoni. Why? Because in It Ends With Us, Justin's character is deeply tied to the theme of love and relationships, and there's a flower shop that plays a central role in the film. But there's another layer to the joke, the fact that Ryan and Blake's collaboration wasn't just limited to their personal lives, it was spilling over into their professional work as well. In addition to this, the flower shop in Deadpool 2 was named Little Sage, a name that seemed too perfect to ignore. Blake had previously called out Justin for his use of saging, a practice where negative energy is cleansed through the use of sage. By naming the shop Little Sage, Ryan and Blake seem to be taking another shot at Justin's quirks, adding fuel to the fire in their already heated rivalry. It didn't stop there. In the credits for It Ends With Us, Blake gave a shout out to Gordon Reynolds, a clear nod to Ryan Reynolds. But here's the kicker. Gordon Reynolds was credited as Nice Pool. It was a cheeky, if not a bit childish, way of inserting Ryan's humor into the mix, almost like a wink to their private inside joke. The absurdity of it all couldn't be ignored, and while it might have been funny to those in the know, to Justin, it likely felt like just another unnecessary jab. It didn't take long for fans to take to social media to voice their displeasure. Many pointed out how out of place Blake's outfits were for Lily, whose character would never have been able to afford such high-end clothing. The disconnect between the character's backstory and Blake's wardrobe choices was so glaring that it almost became its own running joke. Yet, Blake seemed unapologetic, wearing whatever she wanted regardless of how it aligned with her character. Fashion has always been an integral part of Blake Lively's public persona, but it took on a more controversial role when it came to her costumes in It Ends With Us. The film's costume designers carefully curated a wardrobe for Blake's character, Lily Bloom, based on her backstory as a florist from a modest background. However, Blake had other ideas. She chose to go completely off-book, disregarding the carefully crafted outfits in favor of luxury designer items. She brought in pieces from high-end brands like Valentino, Chloe, and Christian Louboutin. To make matters worse, she spent a staggering $430,000 of the film's wardrobe budget on these lavish choices, completely ignoring the character's roots and opting for clothing that screamed fashionista rather than humble florist. But what makes this all so ridiculous isn't just the obvious clash between character and clothing. It's the fact that Blake spent so much money on outfits that were completely at odds with Lily's persona. It was one of the most absurd decisions in the entire saga, showing just how little Blake was willing to invest in her character's authenticity, instead prioritizing her own image over the story. Blake's antics didn't stop at wardrobe choices. She also had a tendency to overreach when it came to comparisons between her life and the fictional worlds of television. In one particularly ridiculous moment, Blake sent Justin a lengthy text comparing herself to a character from Game of Thrones. This wasn't just a passing reference. Blake seriously thought that she and her friends were like the dragons from the show. But here's where it got even stranger. She had never actually finished watching the series herself, so not only was the comparison wildly out of place, but it was also based on a misunderstanding of the very characters she was referencing. Blake's attempt to liken herself to a dragon came across as pretentious and tone-deaf, especially considering that the character she was referring to met a tragic end in the show. Despite this, Blake continued to push the analogy, thinking it somehow elevated her own stature. To make matters even more awkward, Blake's dragon analogy went entirely unnoticed by Justin, who simply responded by changing the subject. The whole incident was one of those cringe-worthy moments that no one involved could shake off. There are moments in celebrity drama that seem to escalate to a level of absurdity that can only be described as next level. And then there was the photobomb incident, a sequence of events that still has fans talking. The situation unfolded during a red carpet event for a prestigious film festival where Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni were set to appear together as part of the film's promotion. Both actors had been briefed on the schedule, and tensions were already high, considering the ongoing, very public feud between them. The red carpet was crowded with photographers, reporters, and fans, and it was the perfect opportunity for the two to put on a friendly face and try to look like cooperative colleagues in front of the cameras. But Blake had other plans. As Justin posed for photographs, striking the classic hero shot, where actors show off their best angles and give their all to the photographers, Blake decided to make a bold move. She suddenly swooped in behind him, intentionally stepping into the frame in what could only be described as a photobomb of epic proportions. But this wasn't just any photobomb. This was a calculated attack on Justin's moment. She did it with such precision that Justin didn't even notice until the cameras flashed, capturing the exact moment she ruined his shot. But the real kicker? Blake's expression. While Justin continued to smile for the cameras, clearly unaware of her intentional disruption, Blake wore the most smug grin. It was almost as though she had orchestrated the entire thing, knowing exactly how it would play out. When the photographs made their way across social media, the world was left stunned. Fans, journalists, and even celebrities couldn't stop talking about the audacity of the moment. While it might have seemed like just a playful jest on the surface, it quickly became apparent that this was yet another salvo in the ongoing war of egos between Blake and Justin. The media buzzed about whether this was Blake's way of poking fun at Justin for being too self-serious. After all, it wasn't the first time she had attempted to make a joke at his expense. And as the feud between them deepened, it became more and more evident that Blake was determined to assert her dominance in front of the cameras. At that point, it was clear. The photobomb wasn't about fun or spontaneity. It was a statement, and Justin had been the unwilling recipient of that statement. As the story circulated, Justin was forced to address it. In interviews afterward, he kept a composed demeanor, trying to laugh it off. But the strain was palpable. His answers seemed rehearsed, as though he had anticipated the question and knew he had to brush off the incident to avoid fueling the media circus further. Still, fans who closely followed the dynamics between the two could see that Justin was not thrilled by the public jab. The incident was a reminder of just how far Blake was willing to go in order to make her point. And for those who thought the feud might have been exaggerated, this moment sealed the deal. It was real, and it was only getting more ridiculous. When it comes to celebrity drama, few rivalries have reached the level of absurdity, unpredictability, and sheer entertainment value that the Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni saga has achieved. Each ridiculous moment, from the infamous photobomb to the Instagram unfollow, has added a new layer of intrigue, leaving fans and critics alike scratching their heads. Blake's carefully crafted image of being in control of her narrative continues to evolve, as each move she makes only seems to fuel the fire. What started as a seemingly innocent professional relationship has transformed into a spectacle of public jabs, over-the-top gestures, and moments that are just too ridiculous to ignore. In the world of Hollywood feuds, this one stands out for its sheer audacity and the lengths both Blake and Justin have gone to in order to one-up each other. As the saga continues, one thing is certain: their rivalry isn't just a passing moment in the public eye. It's a testament to how far celebrities will go to maintain control over their narratives, even if it means embracing the absurd and the ridiculous. In the end, the saga of Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni proves that in Hollywood, Sometimes the most outrageous and jaw-dropping moments are the ones that leave us laughing the hardest. And as these two continue to battle it out, we can only wait and wonder what their next move will be in this ongoing war of egos, one bizarre moment at a time.